them and I told them like, I'm really not interested in becoming a nurse anymore in the United States of America. I hope you guys can relieve me from this process. I'm going to talk about now that my contract has come to an end. I'm going to give you a story time on my Nclex journey, my nursing journey in the United States of America, and my future plans. I graduated as a nurse in Kenya in 2014 December, and in 2015 I started working with an organization called AAR, African Air Rescue, and here we were 3 nurses, and we were 3. One was the charge nurse or the administrator, and then the 2 of us who were just like floor nurse. And this friend of mine received a mail from one man. The email actually was like, are you interested in becoming a nurse in the United States of America? So I bumped into this email by good luck, I'll say, because it was open, and I was like, oh, what the hell are you reading? And then I saw like nurses, international nurses interested in becoming nurses in the United States of America. Before then, I had never imagined coming and practicing as a nurse in the United States of America. I'd never thought about it. But when I saw that email and when this nurse friend shared with me, I took it and ran away with it. So that was in 2015. In 2016, I wrote this guy a mail, and then I started reading, and I was self-sponsoring myself, and I'm very inquisitive and I do so many research. So I started doing research on this process of becoming a nurse in the United States of America, and then I met this agency called Avant. So by then, I don't know if it is similar, you had to do screening exam. One was clinical and one was English with Avant. I did it, I passed, and when they called to interview me, of course I was genuine. I told them I'm working in outpatient. They asked me the bed capacity. Of course outpatient there's no bed capacity, it's an in and out, in and out, in and out. And I told them, and they told me, you qualify in every aspect, but we're sorry we cannot work with you. You have to be working in a hospital unit. So I went back to the guy who did this. But before then, I took a small pause because my partner then was a nurse, and I was like, you know what, you're working in an inpatient hospital, why don't you do this so that I can tag along? But it was not his interest, so I think he didn't give it much energy and much enthusiasm and much want to do as I was. So there I wasted like some months, and in the end of December of 2016, now I became serious, and then I went again to, you know, the guy, the middleman, who I regret meeting him because he delayed my process, but every time I want to see a positive aspect of everything. He helped me to the process where I passed Nclex, and that is one thing I cannot take away from him. I paid for everything, but back then I was so ignorant that even Googling was not something I thought of so much, like I can do this by myself. So I started reading in 2016, but around March of 2017 I became so serious, and in May of 2017 I traveled to India. I did my exam and I passed. That is a story for another day. People say Nclex is difficult. I have another feeling, or I have another view in regards to that, and that will be a video for another day. So 2017 May, once I was done, remember I didn't use CGFNs to do my test result report. We used Joseph Sindley. So I had again to go back to CGFNs, knock at their door because I needed the visa screen. All these I was doing by myself, like I was paying everything. But before that, remember the middleman person? The middleman person decided to sell us to another agency. And that agency also wasted like another year of mine for me waiting, like, you know, when are they going to file and all that. So back to the visa screen. I did English exam. I passed on the first attempt. I did the visa screen. I got it immediately after 6 weeks. My visa screen was out. So here I am. Remember, I was sold to another agency. This agency that I was sold to made an I-140 application for me, and it was denied. It was denied. And once it was denied, I kept on asking them, like, you know, guys, when are you going to file for me? What is the process? Why was my I-140 denied? And they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer. Like every time I asked, it was excuse after excuse, and I feel they were dodging the bullets, and they were just not giving me an answer. So I wrote to them and I told them, like, I'm really not interested in becoming a nurse anymore in the United States of America. I hope you guys can relieve me from this process. So they sent me a bill, I paid the bill, and they gave me a release letter. So after that, a friend told me about some agencies, and I applied with 2 or 3 agencies, and I ended up with the agency that I have right now, which I'm going to talk about. I ended up with Interstaff, and I'll say overall I've had a good experience with them. There's always advantages and disadvantage of everything, but I want to talk about before I moved to the United States of America. Interstaff did a good job. For me personally, I think they really did a good job in communication, because when I applied to them, it took 2 days, and they did my interview and they sent me the contract. I didn't read through the contract because I was so excited. They were so responsive. There are some things I missed in the contract that I wish I could have turned back and asked the question, but I really don't like to live in regrets, because they gave me that opportunity. They literally gave me 30 days to read that contract and understand and make a decision and ask questions. And when I was asking them questions, they were replying like immediately, like immediately. Like I'll send an email and in 5 minutes they've replied. And that is one thing that I give Interstaff a kudos for. Like that is a thumbs up. They are good. Even when I came here, they were good communicators. Yes, there's some things I don't like about them. I can't lie. Like I don't like about them. Like we don't see eye to eye with some things with them. But that is one thing I'll give them, the communication part of it. So once that, I signed my contract, I think with Interstaff in August of 2018, and they collected my documents in September. I don't know what happened, but they were waiting for some prevailing wage and all that, and on December they did an application for me. They did my I-140 application. I will never forget. They did it on the 8th of December, and the 14th of December I was approved. My I-140 was approved. I was over the moon. After 6 months, I got my case complete, and then we were retrogressed. That means I could not go for the interview until the next fiscal year that was starting in there was a retrogression. But all I know, by the time I signed my contract with Interstaff, it took them exactly 1 year for them to relocate me to the United States of America. That is how fast they were. That is how amazing they were before I moved to the United States. So when I moved to the United States of America, I moved to Arizona. Oh boy, my first day in Arizona, I wanted to walk naked because it was so hot. And I've not adjusted to it, but it's a pretty decent state. So after that, I came and I started practicing as a nurse, and I've been a nurse for the last 3 years with Banner and via Interstaff as my employer. And during those 3 years, honestly, I feel like I've done my contract was 2.5 years. Like that was my contract agreement, but I've ended up doing 3 years, and those 3 years are because of me, not anybody. Between now and 3 years, I've traveled to Kenya 3 times to see my family, and it's like that will amount to like 8 weeks in total, if I'm not wrong, which is 2 good months. And then after that, I went for my military training. Yes, when I was with Interstaff, they were accommodative, I'll say. Like they were accommodative. And there's some things that I tell people, as much as I disagree with the agency, then there's some things you have to give them, and that is one thing I'll have to give Interstaff. So I went for my military training. The first part of my military training was 2 months. That is the basic military training, and then the last one was 6 weeks. So I'll say I was out again for 4 months. So technically I was out during my contract period. Like I was totally out for 6 months. I was not at work, but again I was able to finish my contract. Before that, I wanted to buy out my contract when I had only 3 months. Okay, I had 5 months remaining, but when I did my calculation in my head, like if I push myself, I only had 3 months left. They wanted me to pay $25,000. That is Interstaff for you. And I was ready to leave, but at times you need to have people who remind you some things. A friend of mine reminded me, like, these people have been so good to you. You've been out for 6 months. Just go ahead and finish your contract. And those are the people you want to have, who always check you out and draw you back to reality. I wanted to do travel nursing by then, but she reminded me, like, yes, you want to do that. If you push yourself, you're gonna have only 3 months to do this contract, and for sure out of the 5 months were remaining, I did it in 3 months or even less. And I clocked out. I was excited. I can't tell you how exciting is it to finish your contract and know you are a free human being. So that is the part I give for Interstaff. The part that I don't give for Interstaff, and that I know I don't feel like when you're coming to the United States of America, any agency is doing you a favor. You work as, they're your employer, yes, you're the employee, yes, but you need to work as a team. And as a middle person, they need to advocate for you. And I never felt that with Interstaff in regards to my hospital. I never felt that advocacy. I never felt like somebody is there that is employing me and is like, you know, fighting for my rights and fighting for me to be especially compensated well. Because during COVID, it was crazy. It was a crisis. It was a pandemic. And nobody knew that COVID was going to happen. And if you see your fellow nurses are being compensated and you're just paid the same amount, trust me, when you come here for the first time, you're known as a travel nurse. And as a travel nurse, you're paid a lot. And these hospitals know that travel nurses have come to relieve them from their heartaches. So those heartache patients and those heavy patients are given to you for the first time until they understand the nature of your employment. Remember, your contract states that you're not supposed to share even your salary earnings with these people. You're not to talk about it. There's a reason to why. Because if you share, the hospital will really know like this is what is happening. So that is where I didn't agree with Interstaff. Any other thing, they really did advocate for us. But when it comes to my compensation, especially during COVID, I really didn't feel that compensation coming out. Again, you're working night duty. Night duty comes with a lot of stress. As much as you don't get the night differential, and as much as you don't get the weekend differential, you could be getting the extra incentive. That means when they have a crisis and they call you, then you are eligible for these incentives for you to be paid. We were never paid, and that is one thing I felt like Interstaff didn't advocate for me. Other than that, they've been a decent agency. Some people ask me, would I advise somebody to work with Interstaff? If you could have asked me this question in 2020, I'll tell you no. But if you ask me that question right now, I'll tell you yes. I'll tell you yes because the thing that I didn't do is not to read my contract. I didn't read the fine print. I was so excited. But if you're outside there and you're signing a contract with them, then just understand the nature of the contract. And if you're okay with that, they're a decent agency. So yes, I will advise somebody to work with. If not, I would have not survived the 3 years. And I'm being honest. And I say that because I've sat down, I've had stories with other agencies, and I've said it's never greener on the other side. So guys, that is it for me with Interstaff. And for my future nursing plans, I don't know. I'm taking an off. I always like taking my offs. I'm going to regroup, have some energy, re-energize, and see the next step. One thing for sure, I love the military, and that is going to be my first priority as at now. When it comes to nursing, I think I'll do more PRN jobs and probably travel jobs. Because I don't want to be employed. I just want to have that flexibility and the ability to work when I want to, because nursing in America gives me that, and if I can tap in that potential, then I'm ready to do it. Ask me any question that you have in regards to the nursing recruitment, nursing process, and nursing in the United States of America. Wherever I understand, I'll communicate. Wherever that I don't understand, I will always say. Oh, before I let you go, so guys, I've made so many videos, and if you want to learn about something, you always have to go out of your way and learn. I've made a video on steps to undertake, or steps that you'll have to go through for you to become a nurse in the United States of America. From 1, your basic requirements, 2, to the landing in the United States of America. The video link is right here. Please do open it, do read about it, and if you have any questions, I'm open to any questions.